think normally wives and girlfriends don't allow their boyfriends and husbands to talk about other women. This is a real treat.
But the first question I have to ask you is maybe you
Not
never...
guilty.
Not guilty.
Yeah, sorry, please. Did I have any sort of... Yeah, it's wrong to say preconceived ideas, but any kind of image of Japanese women, ladies. I think I would probably have to sort of just qualify it slightly and say I would expect that in every culture, everywhere around the world, you see ladies working in the fields and ladies standing on the catwalk, and they might have completely different backgrounds, but they're all part of the same national culture. But life has decided, or they've decided early on, that they want to focus on certain areas, or maybe they don't feel they have any choice. But I think my specific image, if I wasn't thinking along those lines, would be a sort of delicacy. In its essence, there's a purity in the image. It's a very clear image.
If you can.
Grace.
Wow.
For me. I hadn't really thought about that before, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. As we just said, you could say style, but style doesn't always carry grace. No, it's not really such an innocence necessarily, but it's a precious thing which could be damaged. But it's something that's inside people. It doesn't matter what you wear, that can't give you grace. Grace carries its own beauty. It's a way that your senses approach the world, the way you view the world and how the world affects you and how you want to present yourself in the world. And that grace comes from deep down inside. It's part of every part of the body. And I can look at somebody and they might be having a cigarette. They might just have their legs crossed with a shoe kind of hanging off in a high-heeled shoe or something. And some people can do that. And it's just a natural grace. They don't even realise what they're doing. It's so part of them. It's not contrived. They're not on show necessarily. Almost an innocence, but it's not an innocence. It's not an innocence. And I think for me, that runs through the country, runs through Japan. I can't think of any other country or population I would use that word to describe.
Really?
I think after going to Japan, that's just one instance, of course, but after going to Japan twice, only twice so far, of course you see a vast, complex sort of variation in people, their styles, and you can see the office workers perhaps, the professionals working in a hotel, a department store, on the railway system or whatever. They all seem to have their own particular way of presenting themselves. There seems to be a code or a training which each of those different styles has, that defines, you go into this department store, this is how people respond to you. Very professional, very calm, very thoughtful, and seem to have a real desire to make sure you're happy with what you're looking for. So very helpful and they seem to take it personally. They go further than they need to try to make sure you get when you leave, you're leaving a happy person. But it seems to be much more with Japanese people, ladies in particular, just because that's what we're talking about. There seems to be a sort of refined sense of grace within them. And of course, this is a generalisation because I haven't met everybody in Japan yet. But to me, it's a beauty, a real beauty. There's something particular in the Japanese people, and I'm not saying that simply because we're talking about Japan or because you are Japanese, apparently. But I don't know any other country that has this kind of sensitivity in its population that seems so natural to that population. It doesn't seem contrived. Oh, there was something that you mentioned when we went to buy some chocolates for your mum.
Castella?
Yes. Yeah.
The sweets.
Yes, that's right, yeah. And the way the lady was serving you, it's a beautiful little communication between you two. Yeah, it's very sharp in my memory. And the attention and the eye contact and the information the body was giving, the eyes were giving, as well as the product. It was beautifully done. It's beautifully choreographed, but it wasn't practiced. They're very strong, but they're very quiet. So again, there's a lot of stuff there, and this is very powerful. That they're not afraid to make eye contact with you. And lots of shops in England, they don't particularly do that.
So.
And a lot of them do, but it's in a different way. They're looking at you, but it doesn't have that same follow through. With her, you felt the information was going into her eyes and down into her sensory system. It was meaning something to her, and the look she was giving back at the same time. So she was taking information in and giving information out. Was take your time and just hear. You just direct me for what you would like to do, and that transition, eye to eye, was really strong, really strong. If I kind of liken it to the English, much more reserved, and perhaps because they're reserved, maybe slightly embarrassed to catch somebody's eye, to make eye contact for too long, because it seems rude. In Japanese, it feels quite the opposite to me. The eyes are telling you, please, I'd just like to know exactly how you feel, what you would like, what can I do for you? Because my wish is to make this transaction enjoyable and satisfying for you. Different base of feelings and a different way of using those emotions. So the English might want to please their customer as well, but they wouldn't have that same kind of intensity of information coming from the eyes as well. They're more likely to sort of be looking at the product and talking about that. Those contrasts, I think, for me, seem to be really part of the culture. And maybe that's why people grow up feeling that the feelings of respect for each other, respect for people you're dealing with, and this will probably come through in business as well as shopping and lots of office work and so on. The people want to do their best. They take a pride in that. But if you go to Greggs in England, they might say, "Oh, it doesn't matter." Well, I'm not being rude about the English. I like the English on the whole. And of course, anybody in any country, there are always people who cause problems and so on. But I think particularly in Japan, there is this beautiful sense of we want to be of service to people if that's the business that we're in. And we are happy to be of service. And if there's a problem, we will do everything we can to change it. I commented a short while ago when we were chatting that people can have style, possibly don't have grace as well. You can always tell the difference. People can wear nice quality clothes and they can wear them well, but they don't have a sense of grace in their movements and so on. If you have grace, you can wear anything because it's you that carries it off. And I think it's to do with respect, pride in yourself, and the way that you respect other people, but also showing respect within yourself. That you come to terms with the person you are. This is the kind of person I am. This is how I wish to come over to other people. And again, it feels sincere. It's not contrived. It's not just done because you've got to get a wage at the end of the week. I think that is incredibly strong. And though times change and so people alter as they go on, I think there's still a very strong feeling of being Japanese. I think it's probably the most distinctively different country to any other, certainly that I've known in the world. If you go to the Far East, if you go to anywhere through Europe, there are completely different kinds of people, but they have similarities in lots of ways. Japan, I think, is so different. It keeps going back in my mind and my senses to there being a beauty and a grace which feels so natural. It still has its identity very, very strongly. And I think that is such a precious thing. I would hope that the young people growing up in Japan will still feel it's a value to have that kind of respect and that will to present themselves in a way that they feel proud of, and also to talk to people with respect, and they will get respect back. But I just love the culture of Japan. One of those rare things. It's like, to me, it's like a very rare pearl, and it should be loved and enjoyed and savoured and respected. But I think ladies in particular, females, are a thing of beauty, particularly Japanese ladies.
Okay then, thank you. See
Thank you
you.
so much. Arigato. See you later.
Bye bye.